Good morning. I'm going to start off this morning with a little story. It's a story about Franz Jägerstätter. That's a tough last name. I wouldn't want to spell that too often. But he's a simple Austrian farmer. He was born in 1907, and he was featured in a film by Terrence Malick called A Hidden Life in 2019. Now, in his youth, Franz was considered a ruffian. He was a wild child in his ways, and he was always ready for a fight. But as he grew older, later in life, by 1936, he had matured, and he had changed. Consequently, that's when he married his beloved Franziska. Maybe she had something to do with that. They were in love, they got married, and then they traveled to Rome, and they received a papal blessing. Now, together they had 3 daughters. And in this film, Malick depicts them living this blissful life on his farm high up in the Austrian Alps. And it's said that Franz once said, "I could never have imagined that being married could be so wonderful." He was a hard worker. He worked hard and raised his crop. He gave food to the poor. But he also became very prayerful. It said often he would pray the rosary while plowing, or he would sing hymns to the cattle while he was working the cows. He spent hours of his time learning about his faith, and he served as a sacristan in their local parish church. But in 1938, everything changed. Nazi Germany annexed Austria or invaded, and Franz feared the worst. The reports of Nazi cruelty were well known, and he began reflecting on what it really means to be a Christian living in an unchristian world or society. He refused to support Nazi fundraisers. He even avoided the local taverns because he just didn't like arguing with his neighbors about fascism. In 1940 and in 1941, he reported for military training because he had to. Each time he was allowed to return home because he was needed on the farm to raise the crops. But in 1943, he was called again. This time, he refused to swear any loyalty to Hitler. He also refused to serve in the armed forces with a weapon because of God's commandment to love your neighbor as yourself. He thought that fighting and killing so that Hitler could rule the world was a sin. He was willing, though, to serve as a paramedic. But instead, they imprisoned him. Everyone thought he was crazy. And the only one who would support him was his wife, Franziska. She said that if I had not stood by him, he would have no one at all. Franz was unshakable. He wrote a letter to his pastor, and he said, "If so many terrible things are permitted by this terrible gang, I believe it's better to sacrifice one's life right away than to risk the danger of committing sin and then dying." You might think, what does this have to do with the gospel? Well, today Jesus says that famous line, "Give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar, and to God what belongs to God." What does that mean? What does that mean to us now, living in this society, in this day and age? We don't have a Caesar, but we do have other responsibilities. Jesus is assuming here that what Caesar wants is a reasonable request. He's not giving Caesar a blank check by any means. But as we know, governments do sometimes expect us to support laws and policies that might be morally incompatible with our faith. There are many examples, and we won't go into all those, but I'm sure you know what they are. But it's here that we have a duty to put God first. It's a duty and a responsibility for us as Christians and as Catholics. Because our most important loyalty in this world is to our Creator, God. Scripture teaches us that, and you'll remember these words. The whole of creation belongs to God. His is the earth and the fullness thereof. That's all encompassing. There's no gray area in that statement. We'll go back to the story. In 1943, he's still in prison. He's convicted, and it's the night before he's to be executed in Berlin. And Franz was given an opportunity to sign a document that would save his life. All he had to do was put his name on that piece of paper. And what did Franz do? He pushed it aside. He said, I cannot and may not take an oath in favor of a government that's fighting an unjust war. It's a very, very strong statement. Going forward, in 2007, Pope Benedict XVI beatified him in the presence of his wife. In 2019, at the screening of this film, A Hidden Life, in the Vatican, Terrence Malick described Blessed Franz as a martyr of freedom. He's a martyr, he said, because he chose to be faithful to his conscience. And it was his father-in-law who says in the film, it's better to be a victim of injustice than to perpetrate it. Malick also noted the incredible faith and strength and sacrifice and witness of Franz's wife, Francisca. He said she's a martyr as well, just as he was. She supported him to the last breath, despite the pain. You see, my brothers and sisters, today in secular and government institutions, they pretty much no longer conduct themselves according to the Word of God or of any faith. And whether something is right or wrong now often depends on individual relativism or just a whim. How do we feel today? And maybe it's just simply voting on something that they want to get passed. You see, the more that we ignore an unjust action, an immoral situation, the quicker it becomes okay. It becomes acceptable and part of the norm. I pray that we may learn from this story the remarkable courage of Franz Jägerstätter and maybe be guided by our own good Christian conscience. It was St. Thomas More. He was an English lawyer and a judge. He served as the Lord High Chancellor of England under King Henry VIII. And he said this before his own execution. He said, I die the king's good servant, but God's first. Give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar, and to God what belongs to God.